I don't think every client relationship is meant to last forever. And I think sometimes we make mistakes with who we choose to do business with. And when it's time for those endings, as necessary and obvious as they might be, making that decision and then implementing that decision is really hard. It's hard to do well, but it's a really critical time for your company and culture. That's what we're talking about today on With Purpose. Kind of a heavy subject, which fits with the day that we have today. Guess what? It's still the same day from last week. We're recording a couple episodes today. I got the same shirt, same cup, same pen, and same gloomy weather. But again, I hope I find you on a bright and sunny morning and you are excited to learn and plan a little bit and make sure we're doing everything that we do with a little bit of purpose. So, have you ever fired a client? Like I said, I've had to do it a couple of times, and it's really not fun. It's awkward. It feels scary because you are taking revenue for your business, relationships that you formed, and you're saying, this is no longer something I want. That's not an easy thing to do at all. But sometimes it really is necessary. So today I want to talk about 4 different aspects of making or implementing that decision that I think are critical to doing it well. And the first one is to have a real reason. All of us get angry sometimes with projects or clients or partners that we work with in our normal day-to-day life. And I think that's just normal. But most of the time, that doesn't rise to this level of saying, like, I don't think we're compatible to work together at all anymore in the future. And so I think we have to be careful when we're making this decision that we're making it with a real reason. Because oftentimes, what's making us mad or that friction that we feel when we're working with somebody that we might describe as difficult or has high expectations or a micromanager, we're actually dealing with somebody that's going to make us better. It's going to improve our company. It's going to improve us as leaders or improve our performance. And that can be a pretty thin line. And so we want to make sure that we're not pushing something out of our life that will actually help us get better in the future. And so we have to make sure that we're making this decision for a good reason. And I think that line is when we're dealing with people that are genuinely unreasonable or continuously move the goalposts, right? So genuinely unreasonable, continuously move the goalposts, or are just abusive to our team members. And that's actually the one that I've had to deal with more than anything in the past. I've had team members come to me and said, I cannot work with this person in the future because of X. And they were right. Like, what that client was doing was over the line at the time. So 1, make this decision for a good reason. Next up, make this decision with a level head. This is not a decision that you want to make in the heat of a moment. We're in a client meeting, they say something that makes us mad or they're totally unreasonable, and we want to just go off right there and say, you know what, we're done, pack up our stuff and walk out the door. Not what you want to do. Give that space. Often with a little bit of perspective from 24 or 48 hours of cooling off, we see things a little bit differently. We see the perspective that that client or partner was coming from. We learn some extenuating circumstances that may have been affecting that day. There's all sorts of reasons why giving this decision a little bit of space is the right thing to do. So I would ask you to write it out. Say what you want to do, why you want to do it, and what your justification is, and then put that in a drawer for 24 or 48 hours. Revisit it and really test it without the emotions that you had at the time when you wrote it to see if it's the right decision. Third is we are going to communicate this transition with clarity and generosity. So the goal here is to be clear about what we are deciding, to communicate the why behind that decision with honesty and transparency, and to be generous in the process. This is not an opportunity for us to get our last digs in or take a swing or belittle our client. This is a chance to be generous. So 2 ways we can do this here. One, scroll back in your podcast timeline a couple and find the episode on positive no. Like that framework, that tool on how we make decisions to say no to things can be really helpful and a good model to follow in this conversation with your client. And second is find a way in this conversation to help them. So maybe this is a referral to another provider that you think would be a better fit for them. Maybe this is a little bit of feedback delivered carefully that helps them see the impact of their actions, their decisions, their words on the people around them so that they don't repeat that same mistake in the future. Okay? So we want to communicate this transition carefully, professionally, and with generosity. Finally, the fourth aspect of this is we want to recognize the impact and opportunity that this moment has or holds for the culture of our organization. When we make decisions like this, it's a big deal. And we need to be careful about the message that it sends to our people directly and indirectly. So indirectly, what message are we sending with our attitude, our actions, how we deliver the decision? Do we just send an email, or are we going to have a generous conversation in person with this person? So what are the indirect things that we are communicating with our actions through this? And then directly, how do we talk about this with our team? It's going to feel like something you want to avoid, honestly, from my experience. This is going to feel like a relief. It's going to feel like a really heavy thing, and you're just going to want to move forward. But that is not the move here. The move is to say, time out, team. Let's talk about what just happened and why I specifically made the decision I made. I didn't make it because they were just hard, because sometimes hard makes us better. I wanted to be generous in how I delivered this message. I wanted to make sure I thought through this carefully. And here's the ultimate thing. I made this decision because of who we want to be as a company, how we want to do work, or how we want to be treated, which is our culture. How we treat other people, how we interact with them, the care that we put into the transactions that our business is based around. That's part of the culture of our organization, and that's what we have to protect with these decisions ultimately. Okay, so that's my thoughts on firing clients and how and when to make that decision, how to implement that, and kind of message it with your team. Not a fun thing, like I said at the top of this. I've only had to do this just a couple of times in my career, and I hope it's really rare for you as well, because it's not fun. Next up, let's transition into a little bit of planning. Just a reminder, for every one of these episodes, we make a custom planner and we link it in the show notes or put it in a button or folder or something down below where you can download it depending on whatever platform you're listening on. And I'd encourage you to check it out. We put a little effort into that. So thanks to Jack and Ethan right here. For making that happen. I think they're really handy. I use it every week. So first up, we start with gratitude because we know, because I've said it over and over, like 27 times now, that gratitude is the foundation for us doing things well and positively in our lives. And it puts us in a better mindset to plan our week ahead. So we start with gratitude. What is it that you are grateful for this week? And maybe the flip side of that, what is it that you are not so grateful for this week, or you have been putting off? A decision you need to make, an errand you need to run, a small task you need to do, maybe a big task you need to do that you've had on your to-do list for months. What are those things? Let's write them down and try and schedule some time to actually get them done this week. And lastly, as always, we've got a couple of questions that we're going to use to help process what we talked about today. And the first one is probably a tough question to answer, but it is the most important one. Do you have a client that you needed to transition out of your company this week? Do you have a clear and respectful way to do that? And how will you talk about that with your team? Ponder that for the next 30 seconds or so. Okay, and second question, which is really a little bit unaddressed but obvious in this podcast, and that is, how does your client selection or onboarding process ensure that you don't end up with clients that aren't a good fit for your organization? It's a lot easier to not start working with them than to try and stop later. Okay, that's it for this week on With Purpose. It's been valuable for me to think back through this. I'm grateful that I don't have anybody to transition out of our organization this week from a client perspective. So that's good. But I do think it's something to think carefully about frequently to make sure we're making good decisions and doing it well. We'll see you here next week on With Purpose. Until then, bye.